hot messes. We are back for another week with my wonderful, amazing co-host.
Hi, it's me, Vinny, aka Mr. Thomas English, aka Delicious. I've just gagged. I am so disgusted in myself. I am sorry.
I would love to know who has called you delicious.
Absolutely no one.
Delicious. We are here to let's start this episode with our hot take. Our hot take this week is okay. This one's gonna be a tough one, I think. Former teachers who are selling their made products on TPT, which is a website called Teachers Pay Teachers.
I'll go first because I know you do this.
I do. Roast me.
To me, teachers pay teachers. To me, I'm like, the way it is orchestrated in the US is literally evidence of a flawed system. Because in the UK, we have it where there is a shared curriculum. Every school, you go onto the computer, there is a shared drive. I'm an English teacher. I could go onto the shared drive, go into English, go into my specific grade, go into semesters or terms or quarters and find all of the things that all of these teachers have made together. Because they collaborate, they go through, they have a higher set, a lower set. So if your class is struggling, you can be like, right, I'm going to go with the adaptive one to just help them out. Or this one has higher thinking questions so I can challenge my honor students, and it would be set up in that way where in the last semester of every year it would be delegated, right, you two are going to tag team year 10, you two are going to tag team year 9, and you would go through all of the shared drive, all of these resources that teachers have used the previous years, and you would fine tune, pick it, and if there was any things that people wanted to change, you would go over, so your curriculum was entirely planned out. You didn't have to use it all, but it was there. Versus here in the US, there ain't none of that. You may be lucky to get a scraggly worksheet from someone, or here's the mandated test you have to do.
Yeah.
But it is you got to fend for yourself out here in these streets.
Yeah.
And the only way you can do that is by going on Teachers Pay Teachers and paying for a resource, which 9 times out of 10 you can't even see before you pay for it.
Oh yeah, it is a gamble.
And not to mention, sometimes I get it, we're all trying to make a living, but some of these packages are so ridiculously priced. I am not paying you $45 for a unit of work that I then pay for, download, and I'm like, I can't use any of this because this has nothing to do with what I'm trying to teach.
Right.
And my viewpoint of it is, I don't necessarily mind if it's ex-teachers doing it. My biggest issue is the amount of money being charged and the fact that we are in a situation where teachers are having to pay that money because they don't have any resources given to them from their schools or their districts.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I make Teachers Pay Teachers products. Mm-hmm. And I am a former teacher. And I think the biggest thing for me is I don't mind it. I think it's the whole, I'm very open with the fact that I am not in the classroom anymore. And I'm not putting anything out on that website that has not been tried in a classroom before. Mm-hmm. So I'm not charging teachers to pay for things that I know don't work or do work. It's that thing where if I'm sitting at home and making these products and then charging an exorbitant amount for these poor teachers who are actually in the classroom that need to use it because they don't have anything. That is where the problem lies. I'm very thankful for Teachers Pay Teachers though, because I was able to make that my second job when I was teaching.
And it's additional income. And that's the thing. It's we're in a situation where so many teachers are so severely underpaid for the amount of hours and work that they're putting in that they are having to hustle and find other streams of income, which I completely understand. But it goes in with the thing of it's the system. And the system is so played against teachers that they're put in those positions where they are like selling it. And it's like, for me, my main thing is I don't necessarily mind ex-teachers selling their products.
Yeah.
But my issue is, and this is just all round, this applies to a lot of stuff, I don't like it when teachers try to get out of teaching by relying on the income of other teachers and by exploiting what you know in the system other teachers need to pay into. Because it's like, for instance, I look at it as myself, I'm a content creator full time. But when I moved to content creation full time, I was like, I want to shift my content away from just teacher content.
Right.
I don't want to be a TikTok teacher when I'm no longer teaching in the classroom. Like, by all means, I still do things like this. Like, I've done a tour and I've done a podcast, but it's like, with that, it's me offering insight and stories based on my experiences.
Yeah.
It's not me saying you need to pay me to necessarily have this, or I'm trying to sell you this product so that I can live this life. It's like, this to me is supplementary.
Right, exactly.
It's like, this is what I do because I've taught for several years. I have friends that teach. My wife's a speech pathologist. And it's like, to me, I care so deeply about the community that I don't want it to be like, oh, I'm a content creator piece. I don't care about teachers anymore.
Right.
But I want it to be like, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't want to exploit you and I don't want to take your money.
Right.
I want to be here as a vessel for you to like reflect and laugh and escape from it.
Right.
So I look at it more like, my frustration is more like when, rather than being like, I'm a teacher, I need to get out of this, I can't afford to live this anymore and I don't want to teach anymore. It's like, then please don't use the community that you are a part of against them and then profit off them for your own gain.
Right.
That's what I don't like.
Yeah, and I think like if I was making that much money on TPT, like I do not make enough money on TPT to like even come close to what I was making teaching. I just I'm not trying to exploit anyone or make anyone feel like they have to buy my stuff because I know exactly what I'm doing. I know what works in a classroom, and if you want to buy like an activity, I'm not saying that it's like tried and true and going to be the best thing you've ever bought in your life, but I'm proud of it. That's why I put it out there. And it's something that I love to do too. Like, you love to make content, and I love to make products to use in the classroom that are engaging.
It's like, for me, like, I look at it as what was the thing that I loved most about teaching. And my thing that I loved the most about teaching was engaging with people, like being there for my students. And it's like, that's why I shifted to content creation, because I was like, I looked at myself inwards or outwards, whatever it is. And I remember just thinking, like, what is the main reason why I'm still teaching? And I was like, because I want to make a difference. And then I was like, well, I have a platform where I'm very blessed and privileged to make money off of this.
Yeah.
And I can make money off this just being myself. I don't have to try and stage a fake classroom in my house and pretend that I'm still in the classroom.
Right.
Like, I can just be me.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want that, because for me, I'm like, it's the same thing. I would rather that money goes to a teacher that's actively in the classroom that is struggling and could benefit off it, rather than just lining the pockets of someone that already has enough stability to not even need it, but is just being greedy.
Right.
And I think that's what it comes down to. It's that greed that I don't like. And I think that applies to anything. I'm like, I don't see the point in trying to exploit people for your own gain.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm just like, how you make your name is how you wreck your name. So it's like, if you try and do it, I'm like, the people that you screw over on the way up are the people that are waiting to screw you over on the way down.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just, there's no need for it.
Right. Right.
As long as your intentions are good and you're not overcharging and you're putting it out there, I don't see the problem with it. But I think it's when people are like purposely doing it, overcharging, you like creating resources that are not applicable to the classroom, that aren't adaptive towards different educational needs as well. That's when I'm like, I have an issue with it.
Right. Like, there's a difference between a product that's engaging and useful and, you know, helpful in the classroom, and a product that's cute and looks aesthetically pleasing.
Or especially like teachers that are pretending to be in the classroom still so they can sell their teacher pay teacher stuff. That's where I'm like, it's that deceit. I'm like, there is no need. Like, if you...
That's another topic for another time.
topic for another day. But that's where it comes down to, I'm like, if you're going to do it, be honest about it. And be realistic with it as well. That's my main take on it.
not.
So this is the section where we go over one hot and one not thing. If you're unaware, hot means good and not means not good. Okay, then. I'm glad we cleared that up. Not this week. We have submitting blank documents. I swear, remote teaching and online, this was the worst. This is the bane of my existence. I'm like, if you are going to submit a blank document so that you can claim that you submitted it and, oh no, Google Forms just messed up and deleted all my work. We have access to the history when you're a teacher. Like you can look and see the edit of it. It was blank the whole time and you created that document 10 seconds before submitting it.
Yeah, we saw that you created this document at 2:10 and submitted it at 2:11. Like, no.
So yeah, please don't. And this also goes hand in hand with writing hi on a piece of paper and then handing it in. Please don't. Hello, take this back, please. So blank documents going down. It's just not a thing.
Okay, all right. And hot. What's hot this week?
Hot this week is keeping it real with your students. I'm going to be honest with you. There is no better classroom management in a high school setting than being real with your students. Now, how I used to do this is I'm from England, right? Surprise,
What?
surprise, surprise, surprise.
This is shocking information. Okay.
The Brits are like Cilla Black reference.
No idea.
No, you're like... So I remember when I came here, I had to teach like US historical documents as part of the ELA curriculum.
Okay.
Plot twist, I don't know anything about US historical documents. And I personally don't find them interesting because I'm not from here. So I would be teaching them and I'd be like, the Declaration of Independence, and the students, oh. And I'd be like, mate, do you think I want to do this? I'm not even from here.
This is literally the document that your people declared that we weren't part of the club anymore.
And I would like link that to my lesson. I would tell them, like, obviously, don't be going every single day, oh, I've got to teach you another crappy thing. Like, because that's not going to create a good environment.
No, that's not a great classroom
I
environment.
honestly do think, like, what so many people fail to recognize is that students are adults, but younger. And you were once a child, and you remember what it was like to be a child. And one thing about children is that they absolutely love learning about adult things and knowing how an adult feels.
Yes.
So I think it's very important. Like, obviously, there are lines. Like, don't be telling them the Tracy next door's getting on your last tier. That's not going to do you any favours. But I think it is very much important to just keep it real with your students. And, like, if you see them struggling or anything, link it to something that they're interested in, or link it to you. Give them a little bit of, like, background about yourself. Obviously, don't be giving them your, like, social security number and your tax documents because, you know, fraud is a thing.
Good call.
But yeah, I just say keeping it real with your students. I think that just creates such a great like relationship with them.
I would absolutely agree.
And like that's how you like with especially like the teenagers. They're like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to see a teacher just like keep it real with me. Like rather than just being like, oh, we need to do this and we need to do that, and like having this whole facade of like, oh, I'm perfect.
I'm holier than thou. Yeah, I would absolutely agree. Some of the best times in my classroom were when I kept it real with them. I was like, I don't know what's going on today in this lesson.
One of my favorite like English teachers was like, she was really like feminist, and she was like, yeah, I'm not going to be in tomorrow because I'm going to a march. Like I need to like march for this, and I'm like, screw the patriarchy and all this. And I was like, I actually really appreciate her just sharing like her feelings with us. So I was like, I think keeping it real definitely like it helps you like learn more about them, and like I think you learn better from people that you know than strangers that have like a wall up. But obviously, don't get too comfortable because then that's a whole can of worms you don't want to mess with.
That's going to be on the knot next week.
Once you're their bestie, then that's it. You've screwed it for yourself, and
it's done.
You raise your voice, and they're like, "How dare you?"
We were best friends. On the US
versus the UK,
it's going to be curriculums.
Okay. Is this set text in curriculums, isn't it?
Set text and curriculums. What is it like in the UK?
So in the UK, the way how this works is There are definitely sometimes, like in certain year groups, you can have like more free reign over what you choose. Like there's obviously like recommended texts that are like for certain levels. But 9 times out of 10, when you're in like a high school, or like we call it secondary school, you have set text. So that school will follow a certain exam board, and each exam board has certain texts that board does. And of those texts, there'll usually be a few varieties. There's probably like 4 from each section that you can choose from, but the school as a whole determines which one they do. So they will say like, right, we are doing, for this section, is Jekyll and Hyde. So everyone in year 9, you start reading Jekyll and Hyde for the first time for like 1 term. Then in year 10, you come back to it, and that's when you start actually analysing it in more detail, and you start looking into like writing paragraphs and essays for it. And then year 11, it's all practicing your writing of you've already done this text in year 9, year 10, and now 11, that you're just revisiting it, and you're extending your responses for it, and you're improving and constantly trying to work up at it, so that when you take that exam at the end of year 11, you have known this text inside out for 3 years. Versus here...
Oh my...
Here it is like, here's some text that we've decided that you can do.
Yeah.
And now they're suddenly saying, even though these texts have been approved, are on a list, are recommended, we are now saying you have to get approval from parents to teach these texts.
And then like you have, okay, not only that, but then you have like the same classes, same level classes doing different texts. Like, yes. I don't feel like a lot of teams, at least in my experience, are on the same level. Like, not all of us are going to do, like in 5th grade, we would do Esperanza Rising. Mm-hmm. Like, I did Esperanza Rising, and then my co-teacher did another book, Hatchet or something. And not at all the same.
Well, and like what confuses me the most about like the American curriculum with this, especially in the ELA classroom, is in England, you have it where... I can't remember the exact amount of them, but you have multiple tests. So I think it's 4 exams. Okay. So you have 2 for language, 2 for lit.
Yeah.
I may be actually, it might even be more than that. Yeah. No, 2 and 2. Okay. And then each of them, you have 2 essays per exam. So it's 8 in total. And with that, you have like 1 is going to 100% be on like a Shakespearean text. 1 is going to be on like a short story. 1's going to be on like a play, and 1's going to be on poetry. Okay. Then you have to have like creative writing, writing to inform, writing to persuade. So you have all of these things that fall into language and literature, and you get grades based on your language and literature. And it's like all of the standards are linked specifically to that set text. Whereas here, it's very much like, oh, we're going to do a whole quarter on mood and tone.
Yeah.
And not only that, we're not going to just do 1 quarter on mood and tone. We're going to do it in grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we are literally asking an 18-year-old in their final year of school.
Right.
We are going to ask them to basically do the exact same thing they did in the 9th grade.
Right.
And when you're saying to an 18-year-old, oh, what's the mood of this? They're like rolling their eyes and they're like, come on, man. Like,
right.
I think that's what really I think this is what is like making it so difficult and is causing the burnout, both not only for like staff, because they're constantly having to be like, right, I want to do this text. So then they're having to get approval for the text, or they're wanting to switch it up because, you know, all of these texts on this approved list are by white straight men that were depressed back in the day that are like, oh no, someone didn't love me, so I've got to do a whole text that's bleak as anything.
Right.
And then like people are reading it and like these kids don't relate to it because they're looking at it and they're like, oh, Edgar Allan Poe, wonderful. This is really getting me going. Like, whereas like I really think it's important to like look at it and be like, okay, if you want to have the freedom to do more text, like there needs to be more inclusivity with it, because I just think that's... If you want to do this and you want it to be like, I want autonomy over my class and I want to connect with my students, then you should be able to do texts that are more inclusive and more direct to them that they relate to. Like,
Absolutely. And there's absolutely no way that you can do that in the American system.
Because could you imagine?
No.
Because there's like this whole... And one thing that used to always frustrate me is there would be like a board of people that would meet to go over these texts. And the person that was in charge of it didn't even teach English. They were an ASL teacher. And I was like, don't you think an English teacher needs to be on this board? Because you're representing all the English teachers, but you've not taught this text in your classroom. I think there's definitely things to be said about that, because I notice more and more that is why so many students do burn out with it, because they're doing the exact same standards time and time again.
But do you feel like the UK students are getting burnt out by doing like the same text for 3 years in a row? I feel like that's
I think it's more like the pressure on them to do well burns them out. But I think as they do it, because it goes with that thing where they want to get a good grade on that exam, because you get a certificate for that exam that you then say, I got a B in English. Like, it's not like an award, but it's like you get on a piece of paper, you got a B, whereas here it's like, oh, you got a high school diploma. But it doesn't say your grades on it. Like, you send your transcripts to your colleges.
Yeah.
You can't go to a job interview and be like, oh, I got a B in English, here's my transcript, because they'll be like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Whereas in English, you want to be like, yeah, I got a B, I got a C, and it's something to be proud of. Whereas here it's like, oh, I got a 3 point whatever GPA.
So it would be a miracle if we could, first of all, get everyone on board for the same text in a school, and then get that text approved.
Yeah.
By parents, like, school boards.
Because here it's very much like, we have this standard and we want to grow it each year.
Right.
Whereas in England, it's like, we have this text and we're going to grow our knowledge of it each year.
Yeah.
Which to me makes more sense.
That's very true. There would be lessons when I taught 5th grade English that I would like gloss over, because I'm like, you guys could have done this in 2nd grade. Like.
So once more, obviously.
Are we keeping a scoreboard for the UK and the US?
Obviously.
Right.
Obviously, British schools aren't perfect. Everywhere, the grass is greener on the other side. But I do think there are things in line within, like, the British education system that America could learn from.
A little bit more. It's time for Grind Our Gears. This is the part of the podcast where we get to go off for 30 seconds about something that really, really makes us angry. And we're gonna start. Okay.
So Jess, you probably have a good one for me, but I have a better one for you. Your topic is one-uppers.
Listen, there's not a lot that I share, exclusively where I get passionate or I'm excited about something, because I don't want to be the person that has the spotlight on them, or just I don't want to be that person. I get embarrassed. And if I do share a story or something that I'm proud of, then there's someone constantly that is, I have a better story. I have a story for this. What? All right.
I really appreciate how, in trying to determine how much you hate one-uppers, you tried to undermine your opinion on one-uppers so that you wouldn't appear as if you were one-upping.
This is exactly. This is who I am as a person. Your topic is people who don't know how to line up.
I just can't stand it, especially if this is actually a national emergency here in America. Americans do not know how to line up properly. You will be in a store and there'll be an American right there by the checkout, looking into the air. Where are you looking? This is a queue, not a P. You are pissing me off. Get in line. And then they'll just cut you up, or they'll form different lines. You'll be there waiting for the kiosk, and literally someone's there diagonal from you. I'm like, mate, what is this? This is not a chain reaction. Can you get behind me, mate? And literally, I just don't understand it. It just stresses me out. I'm here. I want to get in and out, and you are wasting my time. You need to move yourself out of my way.
Wow. Once again, I feel like I was part of a rage room I didn't ask to be in.
It's even worse when people are in line, but they don't immediately move as the line moves. And they're like, I'm like, as soon as you see a gap in a line, my anxiety goes through the roof. And I don't know if this is just me.
No, you had your 30 seconds. No, you didn't.
This is off topic. This is off topic. This is not the same thing. Do you ever think, I don't know if I'm twisted, but the person that gets...
but okay.
The person that gets in front of you in the line, that person that beat you to the line by 0.5 of a second.
Yeah.
Do you just hate them with a burning passion?
Yes.
Do you think the whole time, I just can't stand you? How dare you?
Yes.
You have wronged me to no end.
Yeah.
I will spit on your grave one day. Do you ever just...
It's more I beat myself up. If I could just not stop.
I'm like, screw you, and you're like, screw me.
This is, if any conversation defines our relationship, it's that one right there.
literally the plus and minus of the battery. It just works.
Exactly. For our last segment of this episode, we are going to highlight people in education who don't get a lot of recognition. And this week, we are going to highlight paraprofessionals. I love paraprofessionals so much.
I think paraprofessionals, I think they deserve so much more money than they get.
1,000%.
I'm like, I cannot count the amount of times I've had paraprofessionals literally tell me, like, they've been with, like, a student with extreme needs, and they, like, I had one paraprofessional that got a concussion because a student, like, hit them so hard that they were out of work for, like, multiple weeks, and it's like, they go through it, they do so much, and they, like, support some of, like, the students that need support, and it's like, without them, like, we wouldn't be able to do our jobs. And I think as well, it's just such a shame that because they are so dismally paid, that there are so many schools that not only have teacher shortages, but especially paraprofessionals and teacher aides, like, because they're not paying them well enough. And I think that's something that desperately needs to be fixed.
They're not only not paying them well enough, but I have been in a school where paraprofessionals were treated like actual garbage. In the sense that, like, the teachers walked around thinking that they were so much better than the paraprofessionals because they had the classroom, you know? I don't understand why, but if you're not getting the respect of the people that you're working with, and then you're also not getting paid like you should be, and having the students that you're dealing, like, paraprofessionals, my hat...
Yes.
My little hat goes off to you and what you guys do every single day to support teachers, to support your students, and to do it for what you do is absolutely phenomenal.
And especially thank you to those ones that do the mini therapy sessions in between classes.
Shout out to one of my favorite paraprofessionals ever, Bianca. I love you. Can't wait to go to Taylor Swift with you.
Oh my gosh, you're going Taylor Swift for your own?
Yeah!
I'm jealous. Shout out to my old paraprofessionals. I had some of the most amazing ones as well. I had one that was like from Jamaica, and she was just like so real, and I just loved her.
It is that like camaraderie with the paraprofessionals. I don't know where I would be without those therapy sessions. They supported our students, but also me.
So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you for keeping me sane.
Seriously.
All right. This has been another episode of the Hot Mess Teacher Express. Please make sure that you're following us on all of our socials, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, MySpace.
I don't know where this is. I'm just here for the show. I don't know.
Anyway, please make sure that you're following Hot Mess Teacher Express. Sharing is caring. And we'll see you next week on the Hot Mess Teacher Express.